بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
هذه الثكلى تنادي فهبوا يا بني قومي أسودا أعيدوا للدنا أمجاد عصر وفلوا بالحديد لنا القيودا.
Hello everyone, this is Colin once again. I'm making this video as a response to the newest video made by Ahmad's Quran 3 entitled Muhammad and Hell Part A. Mr. Ahmad's Quran 3 is making parts A, B, and C, making this a trilogy of videos on the same topic, Muhammad and Hell. I have to say, in all fairness, this is probably one of the worst videos Ahmad's Quran 3 has made thus far. Not only did he not make any solid arguments, but he made so many strawman arguments that I found it not only discomforting to listen to, but pathetic. He says that the concept of hell was plagiarized from the Hebrew Bible. And I find this really funny. His evidence for this is that the pagan Arabs, in their religion, did not have a concept of hell. And that they were familiar with these concepts because of the Judaized Arabs and the Christian Arab tribes that were in the peninsula, the Arabian Peninsula, during and before the time of the Prophet. Now, we could dispute that all day, but the point here is he would have to then prove that the Prophet Muhammad actually literally did take this idea of hell and stole it from the Jews and the Christians and put it into the Quran. What I think is really funny is the only proof he gives to such plagiarism is he says that there is Malik in Quran 43:77, who is the gatekeeper of hell, and he says, according to Ahmad's Quran 3, he says this is a direct plagiarism from Joshua 15:8, from the and also Leviticus 18:21, Leviticus 20 verse 2, from the Amorite god Moloch, who the God of Israel commands the children of Israel do not sacrifice, do not pay homage to this pagan deity. And this is the only proof that Ahmad's Quran 3 gives to Muhammad or the Muslims plagiarizing their concept of hell that's found in the Quran to, basically from the Hebrew Bible. I have to say this is probably one of the worst strawmans I have ever heard. The only similarity between these two characters, Moloch and Malik, is that their names are similar. Their roles are, however, completely different. Moloch is an Amorite deity, according to Ahmad's Quran 3. A deity which the God of Israel says do not follow, do not pay homage to. Malik is the gatekeeper of hell. Okay? The similitude of this is me saying that there's a guy named Steve, and there's a guy named Steven, therefore they must be the same person. To me, that is a very weak argument. He then makes the comment that if the Quran is in pure Arabic, then why are there foreign words that had to be put, translated into Arabic? And I will be providing a link in the description section that gives articles written by Muslim scholars describing the views on this very subject. He goes through a lot of different verses, and what I'll probably end up doing, instead of going through every single one, I will simply place the tafsirs of these said verses into the description section for all of you to read, because I find the theme of this video is not only his strawman arguments, but the fact that the tafsirs themselves refute Ahmad's Quran 3. For an example, he quotes Quran 23:103 and says that this verse describes that the punishment of hellfire will be forever, for eternity. But then he quotes Quran 11 verses 108 and says that, and actually it's not just verse 108, that's actually talking about paradise, but which he quotes, but it's actually, I believe it starts back at verse 105, if I'm not mistaken, which describes how long the punishment of hell and how long the bliss of paradise will last for. And this is what I find really funny, is Ahmad's Quran 3 claims to know Arabic. And I don't deny that he might have an understanding of Arabic. However, what I do find very interesting is that he claims this, yet he is ignorant of 7th century classical Arabic phrases, or essentially phrases that were used by the 7th century Arabs to denote time frames. I find that really interesting that he does not know this. If you were to look at the Tafsir Ibn Kathir, because here's where he makes the stink. He says that these verses are implying that the punishments will last as long as the earth lasts. Therefore, he makes the strawman argument that therefore there's a contradiction in the Quran, because that means that the punishment is actually not for eternity, but for just as long as the earth is. However, if you look at the Tafsir Ibn Kathir makes it very clear that in the time of the Prophet, even after his time, there was a common phrase in Arabic where if the Arabs wanted to denote something that lasts for eternity or forever, they would say, this is going to be going on until the earth ends. And I will be posting a link in the description section for that tafsir to back up what I just said. So therefore, I would like to congratulate Mr. Ahmad's Quran 3 for being ignorant on 7th century Arab terminology and phrase. He then goes on to say that the Quran 74:3 and 79:97 are deliberately mistranslated to say leadeth, it should be guide, and the verse goes something to the effect of Allah leadeth who he wills, and he, or guideth who he wills, leadeth who leads astray who he wills, etc., etc., etc. He says that Abdullah Yusuf Ali mistranslates this verse. Mr. Ahmad's Quran 3, I have the Noble Quran translation which you use in your website. And what I find very interesting is that when I compared my Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation to the Noble Quran translation out of Saudi Arabia, the wording in English was exactly the same. So I guess Abdullah Yusuf Ali is wrong, and I guess therefore the Noble Quran literal translation is wrong as well. Because obviously you know better than the Muslim Arab scholars who translate the Quran from Arabic to English. Right. Then he says that in chapter 38, verse 55 of the Quran, it is describing the punishments of hellfire, and it says that, according to Abdul Yusuf Ali, that it would be as if death would come to him from every side, yet he would not die. This is describing a person who is in hell. Again, if you look at the tafsirs, Tafsir of Ibn Abbas, and other tafsirs describe that the things happening to the people in hellfire would appear to them should lead to their death, yet they will not die. That is what the tafsirs say this verse is referring to. And he makes a very interesting statement. He says, you know, what's this talk of death in the context of someone being in hell? And he says, if he is not dead, why is he in hell? This is what Ahmad's Quran 3 says at the end of his video. If he is not dead, why is he in hell? If he is alive in hell, where is his spirit? What? I mean, what? This is such a weak strawman. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And then he makes a smirky statement. It appears that Muhammad, that the concept of the soul was beyond his intellectual capacity. Well, what do you mean? The concept of the soul according to you, Mr. Ahmad's Quran 3? Because it doesn't go, perhaps doesn't go in sync with your theology, therefore he's wrong? The idea of a soul is not even mentioned in the context of this verse. So for you to make this statement, if he is alive in hell, where is his spirit? Well, when you die and the day of resurrection comes, you come back to life, and then you go to heaven or hell, you do not die again after the resurrection. This is something that is taught in Islam and in Christianity and in Judaism. So I don't understand what your beef is with this. I don't get it. I don't get what your argument is. To me, it's a really weak straw man. So anyway, I only went through about a handful of the things he referenced. He referenced about, I don't know, maybe 6 other verses. But because I don't have time to go through all of them, I will simply be posting the tafsirs to the verses in question that he references, and I guarantee you the tafsirs themselves refute him. Thank you everyone for watching. Peace be with you all.